Welcome to the Evening Review. My name is Sukhane, and joining us in studio is Sandy Tjaronda, who is an expert in the area of civil society organizations. Before we go into that interview, however, a look at the headlines. Gideon relentless in Namibia University of Science and Technology fight. UNAM academic Frednat Gideon has not given up on his fight to be appointed as the Vice Chancellor of the Namibia University of Science and Technology. Discriminatory domestic violence bill criticized. A new act that will make punishment for rape offenders more stringent has met some criticism from members of the public. Then health sector haunted by challenges. Despite the massive investment in the health sector brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic, it is still beset with a lot of challenges, with patients not getting the best medical care.
Have you received a loan from NSFAF? NSFAF loan is the same as any other loan. It must be paid and settled. NSFAF has a set of guidelines on how you can repay your loan and become debt-free. Therefore, it is important that you, a former beneficiary and a responsible Namibian, show your patriotism by helping pay back your loan and thus helping NSFAF become a revolving fund for the benefit of future potential students. By failing to pay back your NSFAF loan, you risk being blacklisted or having a court order against you. So arrange with the fund to pay back your loan today. For more information on how you can repay your loan, visit our website at www.nasfaf.na or visit our Facebook page or Twitter. Do the right thing and #paybackthemoney.
Welcome to the Evening Review. How are you, sir?
I'm well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm fine. What do you attribute the decline of NGOs in Namibia to, and what are the chances, or what can be done to revive the once vibrant civil society within Namibia?
Well, thank you, and good evening. I think it's a good question. The decline of NGOs in the country. Well, in the first place, it can be attributed to our understanding of what the role NGOs really play. NGOs since independence, and even before independence, have been heavily funded by external donors. And as you know, as we progressed, the funding landscape kept on changing. And that meant that there was no one who was actually coming in and chipping in to support and to close those gaps. So as a result, most of NGOs, as you know, external donors will, depending on what priorities they have, they will decide when to leave the country. And we have experienced that over years. I mean, ever since independence, we've been experiencing donors leaving the country. So that is one. The other issue, obviously, is as I said, is again our ownership of our own country and citizenry. The issue around NGOs is that NGOs have, for some reason, been seen as a threat to most governments. And that is why at this point in time, even in Namibia, for instance, I can speak of Namibia, not other countries, but there is no mechanism to support NGO work. So that again speaks to a very long legacy of a protracted delay to support ourselves, because NGOs are actually working for ourselves. They are working in the communities, they are helping us, and they are supporting governments. So that is what I can say with regard to what happened in terms of the landscape shift, in terms of why NGOs have been losing the space. But also there are NGOs that have been saying things that are not palatable to government, if you like. If you talk about the terrain of human rights, for instance, that's not an area that governments like don't appreciate. Then they are seen as opposition to government. So that is why some of those NGOs will not exist for long unless if we have external donors still coming in. So the only solution is one, is ownership. If our government start to own us as NGOs and support us. Two is obviously mobilizing resources domestically. And that's very, very important because the external donors are not going to be sustained forever. They are all going to transition elsewhere because of priorities. Namibia is classified as an upper middle income country. That has massive implication to whether we are going to keep certain donors in the country and certain support in the country, and that is why everything has really been changing over time.
There's an issue that is being raised to say that civil society organizations are not bringing about the necessary societal change, and therefore donors or donor countries feel that money is not being put to good use, and therefore the decline in support being offered to NGOs. What do you make of that assessment?
I don't know where that's coming from, but I think I've worked with NGOs for a long time, and I think, as far as I know, NGOs are the only organizations that have got a culture of accountability. We get our money out of accountability. We don't get our money elsewhere. You account for every penny you get, and that's where you get more disbursement coming in the country. So you can imagine all this investment that has been coming through civil society, supporting government work, even sometimes closing gaps that government have opened, have been there because we have actually been accounting all this time. We have systems in place, we have accountability measures in place, and as a matter of fact, we are the only organizations that can be punished if we are not accountable, because the donor can then close their doors and say we are not supporting any further. You get all kinds of institutions in society that are not accounting today, municipalities, government ministries. They are not accounting, but nobody will stop the money flowing to them. But NGOs are always punished. If one NGO, for instance, default, then the whole NGOs are classified as not doing the right thing. So that is, it's a stigma that I must say, deliberately maybe targeted at making sure that NGOs actually don't play any role, because, as I said, there are certain people that feel uncomfortable with NGOs existing in the landscape.
We're coming off a very devastating COVID-19 pandemic, 2020, 2021 particularly. How much of an impact has that had on funding that has been given to NGOs, as governments or as donor agencies feel they probably need to prioritize their own programs, their own people, their own countries, and so forth?
Yeah, absolutely. We have been devastated. We have felt it ourselves as well as NGOs, because even if you look at our programming, our programs are mostly face-to-face programs. You talk about workshops, trainings, and so forth. All those programs were closed during the times of COVID. We had situations of not being able to access our clients, traveling to certain places because of the closures that were there. If you talk about lockdowns and so forth. So that means it has devastated our ability to get services to our clients. So we have also not, as a result, we have not been able to then reach our targets, if you know what I'm saying. So basically, that means if you don't reach your targets with a donor, you have not performed, and our performance is, our funding is performance-based, you will lose those resources at the end of the day, or you have to reprogram those resources to put them to good use. So that has been the challenge that has always happened in terms of us being able to reach our targets, in terms of us being able to program properly and to meet our mandate. As we are sitting here today, we've got organizations that today, or clients that today are struggling because of COVID. I mean, you're talking about now a backlog of people living with HIV that have not been receiving their medications on time, or they have defaulted from their medications. I mean, I can also talk about TB as well, and as well as malaria, because the focus has always now shifted from moving from the epidemic to the pandemic, and that obviously had to happen. But I think we moved far away from focusing also on losing sight of the concentration on making sure that we also don't lose our grounds on the other areas or diseases that we're working on. So I think that is where we are.
And then, now wearing a different hat in the past, where you were the head of NANGOF, can you expect a return of that organization, or do you see it as the end?
Well, NANGOF is principally NANGOF is a membership-based framework. So NANGOF is the members. It's not a certain house sitting somewhere in a structure somewhere. NANGOF is the members. The members of NANGOF are still there, and the members of NANGOF are still discussing whether to bring back NANGOF. I think the last meeting we had was actually last month, and we're looking at how do we come back, how do we bring back NANGOF in a revised form? Basically looking at what is it that can be done, what are the lessons that we have learned, and how do we create an improved structure that can facilitate civil society dialogue, because NANGOF actually creates dialogue with other institutions like government, is a bridge that helps the members to be able to channel their voice properly, so that not everybody shouts from every corner, but that we channel our voices properly and we are able to dialogue and to engage with government and other development partners. So that has been the picture that we can paint at this point in time, that NANGOF is the members, but the members are still discussing, and one can assure you that indeed they are working hard on reviving NANGOF and making sure that when it comes in the form that will actually be aligned to the current status quo.
Before there are two further issues that I want to tackle with you, but before we go into those matters, quickly want to go for a short commercial break. Do stay tuned.
Choose your Flex package with Paratus today. Sign up for ultra-fast fiber with the convenience of mobile LTE. That's 2 products in one bundle. It's new, it's one bill, and you can stay connected in more than one location.
For more information, visit paratus.africa/NA.
Always prepared. Paratus.
Welcome back to the Evening Review. There's so many societal problems persisting in the country lately, such as GBV, the LGBTQI issue, health challenges. Would you say the absence of a vibrant civil society brings about this societal issues that we currently have to now endure with?
In my view, yes, vibrant civil society is very, very important, because we raise a voice of the communities that are not heard, the voice of the voiceless, if you like. We talk about protection of rights and human rights in particular. We also hold government accountable to what they have agreed to or acceded to, whether it's international instruments that they have agreed to and so forth, or even national policies and laws. So a vibrant civil society is very, very important. But a vibrant civil society without a tolerant system and a tolerant government is also not helping. Because you can have a vibrant civil society, but if you continue to have situations of a closure of certain spaces, like if you talk about the freedom of speech, if you close that gap, or freedom of information or access to information. If you don't have access to information, particularly in state machinery and state apparatus, you still don't enjoy those freedoms, because you can do whatever you want to do, but you get into certain ministries, you will not be able to get the information, or if you get it at their own time and at their own peril. So that is the situation. So it works together. It's just not civil society that we can actually be talking about. And quite often, and frankly speaking, the focus is trying to damn civil society and make us look like we are not vibrant. Yet you don't look into yourself. Are you tolerant? Are you a democratic? Have you accepted democracy? Even if you are talking about being a democratic society, Have we accepted democracy? In your culture, in the way you do things, is it democratic? And so forth. So it must be internalized. So all these things flow together. Not just a vibrant civil society alone, because a vibrant civil society will be vibrant within an atmosphere and a space that is tolerant and that is enabling, that has got enabling laws that can actually help you to exercise that role.
And then lastly, the government recently announced a targeted basic income grant. What is your reaction to this, to the initiative?
I don't know whether to say to applaud it or to say what, but all I can say from the onset is maybe to bring into context. The context of a basic income grant is that when we started that conversation from premising on a society that is highly, highly unequal. Now, when you have a society that is highly, highly unequal, you need instruments that can address those inequalities and bridge the gap between the rich and the poor. So that conversation was early years of independence. We were blaming the apartheid system. We are coming from an apartheid system. We divided society and so forth and so forth. And it went on until 2002 when we established what we call the NAMTEX Consortium. That NAMTEX Consortium was a government initiative trying to look at what are the kind of instruments that can actually help us to address these inequalities. And that NAMTEX Consortium then made a recommendation, clear recommendation, that you can actually use the basic income grant as one of the tools that can actually help you to overcome these inequalities. And then we started now to debate the basic income grant. Government will not accept it, will have all kinds of excuses. It will not work, it's not sustainable. Where are we going to get the money from? We are going to make our people lazy. And there has been so many things that were thrown to the basic income grant to make it not work at all. And we as NGOs and civil society, we went ahead. We piloted a project in Omitara, just a few kilometers from Windhoek. We piloted a project for a whole year to try to create a model that can demonstrate to government that it can work and it can transform lives. That the Omitara case study still stands today. It still stands aloft today and nobody can challenge it. It has transformed the community that was poor, a community that was coming from farm workers that came and came together in that build that community. Today, those people their lives has been transformed. So, what are we saying today? Now, after all the arguments of 20 years, we are coming with a targeted basic income grant. Targeted to what? I don't say that being targeted, because the principle of a basic income grant, one is universality, two is inclusivity. If it's not universal, it's not basic income grant. If it's not inclusive, it's not basic income grant. You might as well call it something else. So what is, and over and above everything is that government is still saying they don't have enough money to actually do a proper job. After a delay of 20 years of not being able to implement what the NAMTEX Consortium has recommended, it has been delayed. So we lost an opportunity. Now today we are sitting and we are saying, maybe because the elections are coming, well, let's try something, let's try to impress them and try to look good. It's not going to work. It's not going to have an impact, because you're talking about 45 to, say, 46,000 people that will benefit. That's about 2% of our population. It will not have much impact. And it's not targeted as far as I'm concerned, because targeting will look at the social protection areas where the gaps are. You look at the areas of ages between 19 to 59. 19 is the bracket to maybe about 35 is the bracket where young people are, who are actually currently having the pressure. They are unemployed. They don't have anywhere to go. They are being dumped out of school and they don't have anywhere to go. So these are the brackets. This is the area of vulnerability of a young person, where some of them will pick up infections like HIV because they need somewhere to get some resources and stuff, to get some money. But if you move it up to 59, 59, after 59, you become a pensioner, so you transition into the pension, the grants. So I think we are not there yet. We are not understanding, and maybe we are not speaking from the same text, and maybe government have not understood the role of social grants, how important they are, and what role they can play in transforming economy. So I have mixed feelings about it.
Thank you very much for joining us on the Evening Review.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning in. Have yourself a pleasant evening.